Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and the search for the perfect Xbox 360 joystick clone goes on. Mine is seen better days. It's got a lot of glue on it, and it's pretty hanging, but it is nearly 20 years old. So can the new controller from Chereeki meet it, or even beat it? Keep watching to find out. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at a clone controller for a Xbox 360. You can use this with obviously PC, Xbox One, that sort of thing. Sadly not with the newer Xbox S or S series, they need a specific kind of protocol for joysticks to work with them, either Bluetooth, etc. This is a wired controller. Now, as I said in the intro, this is actually to hopefully try and replace my very aging, genuine, original Microsoft Xbox 360 controller. This thing is fantastic for me. I think this is the peak of basically gamepad manufacturing and engineering. It is a work of art. It's extremely comfortable, feels nice in the hand. The buttons are clearly laid out with the colours, so you know exactly which button is which, especially when the prompts come up on the screen. The pad is just great. Everything works as it should do. The springs are perfectly weighted for the throttle, and also the top buttons have a really tactile click to them. It's a great joystick, it really is, but like you can see, this one is pretty hanging. It's, well, it's more grey than white now, and the cable's been replaced and reattached numerous times, hence the glue on there. So I need to find something which is an actual decent replacement for it. So that is why I ordered the replacement from Chereeki. Now, this has come from Amazon.co.uk. At the moment you can pick this up for $14.99, available in white or black. And I'm seriously hoping that this is going to be a contender. But I can say straight away, if you don't want to watch the whole video, it's close, but no cigar, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to be able to replace the genuine one for now. We're still on the lookout for that. So if you do know of a controller or gamepad which looks and feels exactly like the original Xbox 360 controller, please do let us know in the comments section below, or reach out to us on our Discord. I genuinely would love to know, because it's very hard to find one of these new nowadays, because obviously how old it is, or to find one which is of the same quality and basically works the same. Anyway, moving on. So part of the unboxing experience for this isn't very interesting or overwhelming or anything. Literally, it turns up in a plain box with a sticker on the front saying wired game controller, cheer for love, cheer for life. Yay! Cheer for both of those. Yeah, some information on there. So this is the white model. I'm not sure if the black one comes in a black box. Who knows? Maybe it does. You do get it in a bubble wrap to prevent damage in the post, which is lucky because our Royal Mail delivery person obviously didn't care too much. You do also get inside as well a little user guide. Tells you what the buttons do, which if you don't know already, then obviously that could be useful. It tells you the specifications on the inside, and also there's actually something which I find relatively interesting, is that if you're struggling to use it on your PC, there is actually a driver link on the back of a website to go to where you can actually download a driver specifically for this gamepad, which I thought was actually quite interesting, because generally these are just plug and play. And for me personally, I plugged it in and it just recognised it as an Xbox 360 controller, which is what you want for compatibility's sake. Anyway, let's take a look at the controller and look at the pros and cons. So starting off with the controller, you'll see some side-by-sides. I did some B-roll a little bit earlier of this next to the original controller, and the actual mould itself appears to be basically exactly the same. It is a one-for-one copy, at least as far as I can tell. The only thing which is slightly different for me personally, there's a very slight ridge along this side for the palm, which is a little bit more noticeable. It could be just because that one is worn over the years. And the actual texture itself does appear to be extremely similar. So if you like that tactile feel of the Microsoft controller before it gets all greasy and grubby, then you're definitely going to like this. And all the buttons are exactly in the same positions. So again, for the muscle memory, it feels absolutely, actually, yeah, it does feel very good indeed. The side grips, everything it's basically a one-for-one copy. You can't fault it on that, even down to things like the accessory output for the headset, etc., all that kind of stuff. The buttons are the same color. The only thing obviously they would struggle to do is for the start button in the middle. That doesn't have the Xbox logo or illuminate as the Xbox One does, although it still shows 1, 2, 3, 4 around the outside edges if you're using it on your Xbox, whatever. The buttons for back in the menu buttons are grey rather than being white on the original, but other than that, it's pretty similar. Coming around to the back, so our shoulder buttons now are grey colour rather than the traditional white, and the actual trigger buttons, I would say, to me they feel a little bit sharper. Very, very slightly. Now again, you can take a close-up of the images I did earlier with the side-by-side. It may be just because those are worn slightly. Okay, it's been used for like 15 years plus. Something which is different immediately is the actual tension of the springs. So when it comes to the resistance tension on the triggers themselves for that accuracy, they're a lot weaker. The springs are definitely weaker. So for some people that might be better. I prefer a little bit of resistance on those buttons, especially for some driving games, although you'll see some games to play later on, and for most driving games actually it makes no difference at all. In fact, I couldn't really tell the difference between the two, to be completely honest with you. The only thing you will notice is with the actual analog sticks. Now the left stick actually, in a bizarre twist of fate, does appear to be almost identical, if not exactly the same as the original Xbox One. The one which I found to be a little bit less responsive and a little bit more glitchy, which is often the case, is the right-hand side one. Now this is what you'd normally use in first-person shooters for actually moving your crosshair around, and I find it to be pretty, well, not very sensitive. Even with very slight movements, you know, there's very slight movements. If you're sniping, you're trying to track someone, tracking someone is very difficult to do. And in this one, there is something up with the sensor. However it works, it just doesn't work as well as the original Xbox One, which is a real shame. Other than that, the D-pad button, I would say, looks, feels and responds in exactly the same way as the original Xbox One. USB cable, not a detachable one like the original Xbox One, which I'm not particularly bothered about. It's 2.2 meters long, so almost the same length as the original one as well. But in terms of the actual look, shape and feel, pretty much identical, although it does feel ever so slightly lighter. Not massively so. It's only if you hold them both at the same time you'd notice it and go, wow, that's a little bit lighter. But overall, pretty much the same thing. The rumble packs feel identical, to be honest with you, no difference there. But it's down to that stick. And you'll see that now actually in some footage. So let's take a look at some gameplay so we can compare. So I played some random games. Far Cry New Dawn started off with. And with that, moving around, you'll see the footage, first of all, is going to be with me using the Chereeki controller, or Chereeki. I want to call it Cheeky, but yeah, it is what it is. So using this, I actually find it very difficult to aim. Moving around with the left stick was absolutely fine, and selecting things with the D-pad was absolutely fine as well. And the left and right triggers, yep, no issues there whatsoever. This is kind of firing weapons, so it's either on or off. But that right stick did struggle to kind of track things properly. And if we now swap over to the Xbox 360 controller, there's not so much action on the screen, but you can see here, just tracking around, moving around, the actual right analog stick is far more accurate and tracks very nicely. Even the fact that I can track someone driving a sidecar up through the mountain with a scope, yeah, it's relatively easy to kind of do that. So if you're playing games which are this type of game, so you are doing like first-person shooters, or you need to have that accuracy in the right stick, unfortunately this isn't going to be the joystick for you. When it comes to driving games, obviously that isn't as important, because generally that's going to be used for things like looking left or right out of your windows, or looking behind you in a race, so it's not that important. And to show that actually in Wreckfest did really well, did a round with that, first of all, with the Chereeki controller, or Chereeki, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Actually done pretty well, and it's not really unless you see the two of them side by side. You can see there is a very, very slight difference, potentially with the Xbox 360 controller, possibly because I've just played the map already, so I kind of got a little bit of muscle memory going around the track. Do seem to be a little bit more stable, but again, because we're not using the right analog stick for looking anywhere in particular, we're mostly using the left stick and obviously using the D-pad and the throttles, it's a pretty even match there. So I would say if these are your types of games, you're going to be absolutely fine with it. Something else, actually trying to do something first-person shooter using Dying Light, just trying to do a quick challenge. Using, first of all, game, like we have done previously, using the Chereeki or Chereeki or whatever you want to call it, joystick first of all, moving around, actually it did pretty well, and actually this was the best game I had of it. So although the right analog stick wasn't as accurate, and overall the game did score better, and I actually got more kills in this. I actually nearly did the 40, which I've not been able to do yet. So That worked out really well. Swapping over to the Xbox 360 controller, yeah, it's felt better and the tracking seemed better, but my gameplay was worse. So kind of make of that whatever you will. I do apologise for the slightly gory content, but it is what it is. Now moving back down to something else, actually just obviously esportsy. So another driving game, down to Rocket League. It was absolutely fine. Again, it tracks very well, felt very natural. Again, depending how you play this game, if you play it with ball view or camera view, then that's going to change how you're going to use your right analog stick. So for me, I play it in basically head-on view. So it is the view that I'm facing with the actual car itself. So I only use that to look around very, very slightly if I need to. It's very rare I do it, so I don't need that accuracy. But again, if you're playing it in the other version where you do need that accuracy, then again, it's not going to be just as good as an Xbox 360 controller. So there you go, I think you've got the general idea of this now, although this is actually, to be honest, a very good clone in terms of look, feel, and the price. Obviously, $14.99 for a wired Xbox 360 style controller is pretty decent. There isn't a lot better on the market. Generally, this sort of style gamepad, you're looking at somewhere between the sort of £15 to £25 mark, depending where you're buying it from. If you go for a wireless version, obviously you're going to pay a little bit more. It's just a shame that the analog controller on this right hand side isn't quite as good. If it was a little bit better, then I would have no hesitations in recommending this. And actually, if you are looking for an Xbox 360 clone and you want that real feeling like you did with the original one that come from Microsoft, which is now retailing for like £30–40, then yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Again, if your gameplay is going to be more first-person shooter, it may take you a little while to get used to that slower tracking on the right analog stick, but the rest of it is going to be pretty much a one-for-one copy. Although, again, you will feel a little bit less resistance on the triggers, but ultimately it didn't make much difference and actually still feel very good. So anyway, there has been the Chereeki Xbox 360 clone controller. Let me know what you think about this one in the comment section. If you want to pick up one for yourself, there will be affiliated links in the video description below, both in black and in white. But for now, I'll be Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.